All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're taking a close look at what you might call the absolute founding patriarch of modern Ukrainian hemp. It's a variety known as Glesia. If you're at all into agronomy, sustainable farming, or just keeping tabs on the massive boom in industrial hemp, you'll definitely want to stick around for this one.
There's this quote that I think just perfectly sets the stage for us. It asks, where does a reliable hemp business begin? Not with hyped novelties, but with ironclad classics. And honestly, that hits the nail on the head, right? Look at the pedigree of almost any modern Ukrainian hemp variety, and boom, one name just keeps popping up: Glesia. Registered back in 2016, this plant is literally the genetic foundation, the ultimate donor of the best traits for an entire generation of new hybrids. It really is the definition of an ironclad classic. So the patriarch of Ukrainian hemp. Let's explore exactly why this variety, which was meticulously developed by the Institute of Bast Crops over at the National Academy of Agrarian Sciences, is considered the gold standard. I mean, it's really not just a plant. It's a true agricultural benchmark. According to the official analytical guides, Glesia is a true dual-purpose universal variety. Now, what does that actually mean for us? Basically, it was built from the ground up to strike this perfect balance between producing really tough, high-quality fiber and giving you a highly reliable seed fund. It's definitely no one-trick pony. The documentation highlights its medium height, its distinct leaf shape, and get this, a light green stem that manages to keep an incredible elasticity all the way through to the technical ripening stage. It's just engineered for serious, stable production. Moving right along to the core agronomic profile, let's look at the tail of the tape here and unpack some of the honestly staggering statistics that make this plant so wildly sought after. Okay, here is where things get super interesting. Glesia has an absolute superpower, a rock-solid genetic 0% THC content. Practically speaking, we're talking about registering at less than 0.02%. That is an ironclad baseline. And why does that matter? Well, it never reverts. You could throw severe drought at it, massive temperature swings, terrible soil, and this plant will not suddenly spike in narcotic compounds. Actually, scratch that, it literally never spikes. For a farmer, that translates to absolutely zero legal risks. It's just a completely safe, stress-free crop. Breaking down the vital stats. Just look at that height. 2.4 to 2.8 meters. I mean, that is a massive plant. And its vegetation period is incredibly stable, locked in right at 112 to 115 days. Agronomists actually call this having a perfect biological clock, because it won't shift its flowering or ripening times, even if the spring weather goes totally crazy. We're also looking at a really fantastic seed yield of 1.5 to 2.0 tons per hectare, plus a fiber content of 30 to 32%. Oh, and remember that elastic stem I just mentioned? That elasticity is exactly what prevents this towering, nearly 3-meter plant from snapping during nasty summer storms. It makes mechanized harvesting literally a breeze. On top of all that, it scores off the charts for disease and pest resistance. We're talking a solid 8 out of 10 against both fusarium wilt and the dreaded cornstem borer. This kind of heavy-duty resilience makes it an incredibly adaptable crop across all the major Ukrainian climatic zones, whether that's the dry steppe, the moderate forest steppe, or the humid Hlesia regions. It's highly plastic, which is just a fancy way of saying it's going to thrive pretty much wherever you decide to plant it. All right, the European comparison. The real question now is, how does this reliable workhorse stack up against the big league European competitors? How does our Ukrainian patriarch fare on the international stage? When we pit it head-to-head with the French industrial standard, which is Fedora 17, and honestly a fantastic European variety in its own right, we see a massive contrast in their, let's call it, agricultural temperaments. Glesia is highly plastic. It's basically the trusty old farm truck that just never quits. It's super forgiving to the farmer, it shrugs off dry air and drought, and it absolutely won't punish you if your soil isn't picture perfect. Fedora 17, though, it's a bit more capricious. Kind of like a high-maintenance sports car, it really demands that ideal agricultural background. Perfect soil, consistent moisture, just to perform. And the official comparison matrix really drives this home. Sure, if you're looking closely at the numbers, Fedora 17 might edge out a slightly higher fiber output, hitting 32 to 34%, compared to Glesia's 30 to 32. But Glesia completely takes the win when it comes to absolute THC stability. You see, under high stress, Fedora 17's THC levels can actually start to fluctuate and creep up toward that 0.12% mark. And that can cause some serious anxiety for growers. Glesia stays perfectly at 0. Plus, like we said, it's just way less fussy about the soil. No, when we pivot to seed production specifically, Glesia's sheer dominance is just undeniably obvious. Because it grows these incredibly dense, rhombus-shaped inflorescences, it just breezes past the major European heavyweights. We're talking 1.5 to 2.0 tons per hectare of seeds. That comfortably beats Fedora 17 and absolutely crushes another really popular French variety, Futura 75, which usually only manages to scrape together about 0.8 to 1.2 tons per hectare.
Ultimately, what this highlights is a genuinely fascinating difference in agricultural philosophies. You've got the French school of breeding, think Futura 75, which puts this massive focus on ultra-long fiber, textiles, and super strict industrial processing standards. Then you have the Ukrainian school, perfectly embodied by Glesia, which puts all its chips on adaptability, genetic stability, huge seed yields, and just plain survival in harsh continental climates. Glesia beautifully bridges that gap between the old Soviet fiber-only models and everything we need from multifunctional hemp today. So modern industry applications. Let's head into our final section here and see how this awesome genetic legacy actually translates into real-world business today. Like, why are farmers actively choosing to plant Glesia right now? Honestly, it comes down to its incredible versatility. Thanks to a massive 32 to 36% seed oil content, Glesia is perfectly positioned for the booming export food-grade segment. It's a dream for local processing facilities making cold-pressed oils, protein concentrates, or hemp flour. But you know what's really exciting to me is its leap from traditional farming into modern eco-farming. Because this thing grows nearly 3 meters tall and generates just an unbelievable amount of plant biomass, it is an absolute champion for carbon farming. It sucks up huge amounts of CO2, builds up soil organic matter, and fits like a glove into low-input and no-till farming systems. So, to wrap this all up, if you want a guaranteed, completely predictable result without any nasty surprises come harvest time, Glesia is for sure your ironclad classic. It's the genetic bedrock for a very good reason. But, it leaves us with a much bigger question to chew on. With climate change constantly pushing the limits of what our crops can actually endure, is the ironclad resilience of classic genetics, like Glesia, the true future of sustainable farming, rather than just endless lab-engineered novelties? I'd love to know what you think. Keep exploring the incredible science behind the crops that literally shape our world, and we'll catch you next time.